Okay, welcome back. This is our third video for the week. So what we're doing today is you've already practiced graphing with inverse functions. You've practiced finding equations that are probably about 2 steps. Today it's 3 or 4 steps. Again, this is where it gets a little bit more involved, so you're going to want to show your work. So after this lesson, I have a second one on Delta Math to practice, and then Thursday I have just a worksheet that you'll hand in. So I have 3 Delta Math assignments and a worksheet. So I've already written out today's Wednesday, April 1st. We're finding inverse functions too. And that will be the assignment on Delta Math. So my first one is f of x equals 3x to the 1/3 plus 2. Okay, so we're finding its inverse function. So switch the x and y. Remember, f of x is the same as saying y equals. So we'd say x equals 3y to the 1/3 plus 2. So make sure that you are solving then for y, but you're doing order of operations in reverse. So whatever's the bottom, you've got to do it first. So you've got to undo the plus 2, subtract 2. So x minus 2 equals 3y to the 1/3. So you can't do the exponent until you take care of the multiplication. So think about what undoes multiplication. Divide by 3. So make sure, since you already had moved the minus 2 over, you've got to divide the whole quantity by 3. So we have x minus 2 all divided by 3 equals y to the 1/3. So think about, you want that to say y to the first power. So what do you have to multiply the power by to be 1? Well, it's reciprocal. So you are going to raise this to the 3rd power, where we know powers get multiplied. 1/3 times 3 over 1 cancels out. So you have to multiply this whole quantity, or raise this whole quantity. You're not multiplying by 3, you're raising it to the 3rd power. So we would say the inverse of f of x, in parentheses, or the quantity of x minus 2 all divided by 3. That should all be in parentheses raised to the 3rd power. Would be our inverse function. Okay, so number 2, I have f of x equals, so I have a fraction bar on top. X plus 2 is in parentheses raised to the 5th power, and that's all divided by 3. So go ahead, switch the x and y. So y is f of x, so make it x equals, in parentheses we have y plus 2 raised to the 5th power divided by 3. So this time the 3 is not in parentheses, so we have to undo that first. So we have to times, not raising it to the power, you're multiplying both sides by 3. So we get 3x equals y plus 2 to the 5th power. Okay, and so then you can't get rid of the plus 2, you have to undo the power because it's in parentheses. What undoes the power of 5 would be the 5th root. So you're taking the 5th root of the quantity 3x. So we have the 5th root of 3x equals, these cancel, 5 and 5, power and root undo each other. We're left with y plus 2, and then we get rid of the plus 2 after by subtracting 2 from both sides. Make sure it's not underneath. If you had to move the 2 over first, then it's underneath, but it's the 5th root of 3x minus 2 is on the outside, would equal to the inverse function. So if you want to write it like that, it's fine. The inverse function of f of x equals the 5th root of 3x, and then minus 2 is not underneath. Make sure you don't keep that radical symbol going over. All right, number 3. So we have f of x equals, so in parentheses I have x to the 1/5 minus 5, and then that's all raised to the 7th power. Okay, so same thing, switch the x and y. So x equals y to the 1/5 minus 5 to the 7th power. Okay, so this time you can't undo anything in the parentheses first. You've got to undo that power of 7. So what undoes the power of 7 would be your root. So take the 7th root of x equals y to the 1/5 minus 5. And then you've got to then move over the minus 5. So add 5, but it is not underneath. So it's 7th root of x plus 5 outside equals y to the 1/5. So we need that to say y to the first. So this is where we raise it to the 5th power. But if we got to do it to the whole side, so you got to put parentheses to the 5th power. So we have the 7th root of x plus 5 in parentheses, all to the 5th power equals to our inverse function. So it's the 7th root of x plus 5 raised to the 5th power equals our inverse function. Okay, so this is Wednesday, or roughly. So what you have for the rest of today, you have a Delta Math assignment to finish over this material. Thursday, there's no notes. It's just a worksheet that has both the 2 and the day 2 and day 3 type. And just turn that into me. Friday's a makeup day, or if you have corrections. All right, have a good rest of your week.